What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Let Us Pray. Hope you're having a blessed and prosperous day, man. Man, I gotta get this beard trimmed. This beard is getting out of control. Shout out to the beard gang out there. We're back with another preview of the NFC game this week in Santa Clara between the San Francisco 49ers #1 seed and the Minnesota Vikings that upset the New Orleans Saints on Sunday. We're going to look at the strengths of both these teams today. Let me know in the comment section who has the better running game. Who has the edge in running? Is it Dalvin Cook, Madison, and Boone? Or is it Mostert, Coleman, Breida, and Jeff Wilson? When I thought about this initially, I said, man, the 49ers have the huge edge. I still believe they have the edge, but hear me out. And I want to get your input. Thank you guys a lot for commenting and participating in the last video. I really appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. I want to keep doing these videos because I actually enjoy doing them. Something I've always done. Sports talk with my friends. Love sports talk at the barbershop. Just something I really love. Something I've always been passionate about. So, you know, me doing this it's just like me talking with my boys, talking with my friends. So please comment. It doesn't matter whose side you're on. There is no right or wrong answer. Just looking for dialogue, man. Just looking for differences of opinion. Rep your team, rep your squad, rep the 49ers, rep the Vikings. Even if you're not a fan of either, if you want to respond, you want to comment, whoever you think has the better running back group. So hear me out. I'm going to start off with the Minnesota Vikings. Dalvin Cook. He's been phenomenal this year. He's been, honestly, I didn't want to, excuse me, I didn't want to draft him in fantasy because he always seems to get hurt. And that worries me about Dalvin Cook. I believe he had a shoulder injury this year. He played through it quite a bit, but he did sit down, I believe, 2 games at the end of the season this season. At the end of the regular season. But all those other games, he balled out, man. The dude was dynamic. Madison, I mean, he kind of leaves something to be desired. They really like him in Minnesota. But then when Boone came in, I believe he had 2 really good games. And he had 1 subpar game. Dalvin Cook makes the Minnesota Vikings offense go. Everything is set up off of the run. You look at the big pass that they made pretty much to win the game. Got down to the 2-yard line. It was off of play action. Dalvin Cook had a couple good runs right before that. Set up the play action. And they hit Thielen for like a 35-yard, 40-yard pass to get them down to the 2. Eventually throw to Kyle Rudolph. Fade in the left corner of the end zone. Game over. Upset of the Saints. So Cook is the engine that makes that vehicle, which is the Minnesota Vikings offense, go. My thing is, well, let me go to the 49ers first. 49ers, Raheem Mostert. I think he was the 3rd string running back to start the season, if I'm not mistaken. Matt Breida and Tevin Coleman were pretty much sharing, I wouldn't say 50-50, but I might say like 40, 30, or maybe like a 45, 35, and then what is that, 20 left over from Mostert. It seemed like it was some sort of share like that at the beginning of the season. Mostert barely got any touches. Tevin Coleman was playing a lot. Breida was playing a lot. Tevin Coleman gets banged up. Breida gets banged up. Mostert comes in kind of out of necessity. Next man up type of deal. Him and Jeff Wilson Jr. They come in. They play really well. They get touchdowns. But Mostert began to take off somewhere like 3/4 into the season. I think it was the Baltimore Ravens game where he just exploded, man. And he's been running very well ever since. Kyle Shanahan has given him a lot of carries. You don't see much Breida out there now. You see a lot of Mostert. You see Coleman. Very little Breida. Very little. You don't see any Jeff Wilson Jr. really. So it's exciting to see so many running backs have different roles in that sort of offense. Because what offense do you see 4 different running backs have a role in offense? So it's like you kind of never know what you're going to get from Kyle Shanahan. Somewhat similar to how Bill Belichick runs things in New England. Because you'll get a lot of Sony Michel, but then you might get Rex Burkhead. You might get James White this week. You might get Brandon Bolden one week. You never know where Kyle Shanahan is coming from in this running back group. So it's like he keeps you on your toes. You can't fix in on one guy really. Even though Mostert seems to be that guy right now, you never know what the game plan might be. He might cut Mostert down to 30%, 20%. You might see a lot of Breida in there. You might see Jeff Wilson in there a little bit more. You might see a lot more Coleman. We got to wait and see. 49ers running game has been phenomenal this season, though. Zone running scheme, very famous, very famous scheme. Obviously, Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan's father, is famous for running that scheme in Denver. Churning out 1,000-yard backs year after year after year. Mike Anderson, Terrell Davis, Tatum Bell. See, y'all don't even know about. Oh shoot! Y'all don't know about Tatum Bell. All these different guys that they churned out as 1,000-yard rushers seem like they can plug and play any running back they wanted to into that zone blocking scheme and get a 1,000-yard rusher. The scheme is very potent if you have the right style of rusher, that one cut and go type of guy. Doesn't have to be that shifty. Doesn't have to be like a Barry Sanders style. You know, you don't have to be very elusive. You just have to have good to great vision to be able to see some of the cutback lanes that are available to you as a running back, because their blocks are not necessarily man on man. They're blocking a space, then they're trying to move up to the next level to cover that space. And if you can see that crease as a running back, you can gash the defense for so many yards. So it's just a very potent scheme. If you're a one cut and go guy, if you have good vision to cut the ball back, And it's been very successful so far in San Francisco this season. It was very successful in Atlanta when Kyle Shanahan was running it with Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman. So you got potentially 4 backs, really 3 backs, who see consistent playing time in San Francisco. You got one main guy, albeit he's a stud, and Dalvin Cook in Minnesota. And which team has the edge? Which team has the... Sorry about this. This sun is like gnarly right now, bro. Which team has the edge? Not for the reason you think, but San Francisco has a clear edge. Let me tell you why. I looked at the Minnesota Vikings versus the New Orleans Saints game. I was watching, and as a viewer, I'm thinking, Dalvin Cook's getting the ball. Dalvin Cook is getting this ball. What was it? Overtime. 1st and goal from the 2. Dalvin Cook's getting the ball 3 times in a row. If it takes that, or 4 times in a row, game over. Game over. You just need 2 yards, run them 4 times in a row, game over. Straight up the gut. So, I believe it was 1st and goal. They run the ball. What do? The offensive coordinator calls a halfback toss. Halfback toss. Dalvin Cook is like 6-8 yards behind the line of scrimmage when he catches the ball. Never gets back to the line of scrimmage. Vikings lose like 5 or 6 yards. They were fortunate to get that catch to Kyle Rudolph on 3rd down. But the biggest reason I say the 49ers have the edge, it's not necessarily because of running back talent, it's because of who's calling the plays. Who's calling those plays, man? The Minnesota Vikings offensive coordinator, I do not trust him to call plays in crucial situations for Dalvin Cook. If he goes back to that halfback toss, he did it earlier during the game in the 4th quarter when they thought it was a fumble and it was returned back for a touchdown, but the review showed that Cook's knee was down. That was also a bad halfback toss call. Then he goes back to it again in a crucial situation on the goal line. Like, dude, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Stop calling halfback toss. Stop calling halfback toss. So, I mean, Kyle Shanahan is a mastermind, and play calling. You never know where he's coming from. You don't know if he's going to run the toss. You don't know if he's going to run the reverse. You've seen him do a wide receiver, reverse, pass. You don't know where he's coming from. Off tackle, up the middle, trap, draw. You don't know where he's coming from. There's so many different dynamics to that 49ers running game. It's a really dynamic running game. And I trust Kyle Shanahan's play calling as a running play caller a lot more than I trust Minnesota Vikings offensive coordinator. I think Mostert and Tevin Coleman, however, will have a tough time running against that Minnesota defense. That defensive front is a bear, man. They are no joke. They are no joke. So I don't think by any means that the 49ers are going to like run up on them like 200 yards and all this type of stuff. It's going to be a grind, bro. They're going to have to take those tough yards. Don't try to bounce it out every time. Just put your head down, turn those legs, Churn out those, 3-yard gains, 2.5, 3, 4-yard gains. Make those work for you. Keep rotating those backs. I do like the backs that the 49ers have to rotate. Breida gives you, obviously his nickname Breida the Cheetah, so he gives you a lot of speed. Mostert was a track champion in college, so he gives you more speed. Tevin Coleman, I believe it was at Indiana, he's known for his long speed. So you got speed guys out there. Coleman is the bigger of the bunch, so he can give you a little more pop there in the middle. He doesn't have great vision, but he can definitely give you some pop. He can definitely get some of those dirty, grind them out yards for you. But Dalvin Cook is just that wild card, man. If he kind of gets in his groove early, he can have a field day. He can have a field day, bro. So I am picking that the 49ers defense, the 49ers running backs are the better running back group of this matchup. Simply because of the play calling. I do think with Cook, I think he'll get his yards. The 49ers haven't been great against the run, excuse me, in the second half of the season. They've given up some games where, yeah, some guys have kind of gotten loose on them quite a bit. Kenyon Drake got loose there. Who are some of the other guys that got loose? I can't think off the top of my head, but I know they've been. The Falcons had a pretty decent running day against them when they played in Levi. Seahawks had a pretty decent running day against them as well. That's been almost the one chink in the armor. The 49ers in the second half of the season. They started out like wildfire, but I do understand they had a lot of injuries. They lost big boy in the middle. They lost Quan Alexander, but they had some guys step up, man. They had some guys step up. Greenlaw and what's the other kid's name? I can't think of his name, the linebacker. But those guys have stepped up tremendously. Those guys have been great for the 49ers in the second half of the season. Them getting a week off, I think it's going to help them. Some time to study, some time to look at the tape of the man, I gotta get out of here. Some time to look at the tape of the Minnesota Vikings running game and key in on what they like to do in certain situations. I think it definitely gives the 49ers the edge. So let me know in the comment section who has the better running back group, who has the better running scheme. What are your opinions? What are your thoughts? Who do you think will be more successful on the ground come Saturday? 49ers against the Minnesota Vikings. It's your boy, Let Us Pray. Hope you're having a blessed and prosperous day. Peace. And I'm out. Hit that, smash that, tap that like and subscribe button for your boy. Peace. And I'm out.